You know, when you walk through a forest, have you ever stopped to think that every single tree, every leaf, it's all part of this incredible intentional design? Well, believe it or not, your heart is a lot like that. It's deeply layered, it's full of meaning, and it was designed with purpose. Or maybe you felt more like an artist staring at a blank canvas, just completely overwhelmed, not sure where to even make the first mark. That feeling of trying to figure out who we are can be a lot. So today, that's exactly what we're going to dive into. We're going to explore this idea of the art of the heart to really understand our true identity. All right, so let's start with the canvas itself. What is the heart? What are we actually talking about here? Well, think of it as the absolute center of who you are. And it's not just one thing. It's actually made up of three interconnected parts: your thoughts, which we can call the mind, your desires, or your affections, and your choices, which make up your will. Now, the key thing to get is that these aren't separate compartments. No, they're all woven together, creating your one whole inner life. So, if our heart is the canvas, then what are the tools the artist, that's you, uses to create the masterpiece of a life? Well, there are three of them, and they line up perfectly with those three parts of the heart we just talked about. First up, you've got your mind, which is like the sketch lines of a drawing. Then come your desires, which are like the color palette. And finally, you have your will, which acts as the brushstrokes that actually put the color on the canvas. Let's break each one down. Think about it. Every great painting starts with those initial outlines, right? The faint sketch that gives the whole piece its shape and structure. Your thoughts do the exact same thing. They form the foundational structure for everything else. What you believe about yourself, about God, about the world, they're the blueprint. And let's be real for a second. A lot of the time, those thoughts can be super loud and super negative. We've all heard these whispers, haven't we? That you're not enough, that you're too messy, that if people really knew you, they'd walk away. These thoughts can feel so incredibly real, but just because they're loud doesn't make them true. And this is where we see a huge contrast. The world is constantly telling us, just be whatever you feel, define your own truth. But God offers something so much more solid. He says, no, you are made in my image. You are my workmanship. You belong to me. See the difference? Our sketch lines have to be drawn from His truth, not from the world's shifting ideas. Okay, on to our second tool, our desires. If our thoughts are the sketch, then our desires, what we love, what we want, what we're afraid of, those are the colors on our palette. They're what give our life mood, meaning, and show what we truly value. And our palette has all sorts of colors, right? Some are bright and beautiful, desires to be kind, to live with purpose. But we also have darker shades, that craving for approval, the fear of being rejected, the desire for control. The important thing to see here is that our desires aren't fixed. They just show what we're currently focused on, what we're watering, so to speak. And that means they can actually change. This brings us to our third and final tool, the will. This verse from Proverbs just says it all. Our life flows from our heart. Every single choice we make, every action we take, that's a brushstroke. It's the moment the paint hits the canvas, showing the world what's really going on inside of us. But here's the problem. If we're honest, our brushstrokes often reveal something's wrong. The canvas of our heart, it isn't a fresh, clean slate. It's more like a damaged masterpiece. And we're not just talking about a few smudges here and there. Sin has affected the very fabric of who we are. It all starts with the sketch lines. Our thoughts get all twisted up, and we start believing lies about ourselves and about God. And because our thinking is off, our color palette gets all muddy. We start wanting things that pull us away from God instead of drawing us closer to Him. And of course, with a distorted sketch and a muddied palette, our brushstrokes end up being messy. Our choices start to reflect all that confusion and brokenness inside. So you can see why the world's advice to just follow your heart is actually terrible advice for a heart that's damaged. God's message is the complete opposite. He doesn't say trust your heart. He says your heart needs Him. He says your past doesn't get to define you, and your worth is completely fixed by His love. It has nothing to do with your performance. And that leads us to the most incredible turning point in the entire story. This is where the master artist steps onto the scene to claim and restore his creation. This is all about finding our identity in Christ. Just picture this for a second. An old painting, sitting in a dusty corner, cracked and forgotten. and a master artist comes along. He doesn't throw it out. Instead, he picks it up, gently brushes off the dirt, and says with absolute certainty, "This one is mine." That is exactly what God does for us through Jesus. He claims us. He puts his signature right on the canvas of your heart, and in that moment, your entire identity is redefined. You are declared to be secure, forgiven, wanted, loved. You have purpose. You are being transformed, and you will never, ever be abandoned. And listen, this isn't something you earn. It's a gift. It's your new reality, a done deal. But that declaration, that new identity, it isn't a magic wand that fixes everything instantly. It's actually the start of a lifelong process of growth, of becoming the masterpiece you've already been declared to be. It's about slowly but surely growing into the beautiful frame that God has built for you.
Think about a tiny seed growing into a huge tree. That kind of growth takes consistency. It needs nourishment, like sun and water. It even needs pruning sometimes to cut away the unhealthy parts so the healthy parts can flourish. It has to weather storms. And more than anything, it requires a ton of patience. Your spiritual growth is exactly the same. God is committed to the process, slowly growing you into something strong and beautiful, especially in the seasons when you can't see any progress at all.
So, as we wrap this up, it's pretty clear that there are a lot of voices out there trying to tell us who we are. The world has an opinion. Our past definitely has an opinion. Even our own feelings have a loud opinion. But we have to learn to tune all of that noise out and focus on the one single question that truly matters. Not who your friends say you are, not who your successes or failures say you are. The one foundational question for your identity, for the entire masterpiece of your life, is this one. Who does Jesus say I am? Because that right there is the truth that will set you free.